body is your home. People spend so much money renovating their houses. When your house gets to be decrepit, you hire people to come and renovate. Well, when our body gets old, we can't leave our body. We have to stay here. So
what's up, you guys? I hope you're having an amazing day. So today's video is an interview that I did with a good friend of mine, a fellow personal trainer. Her name is Barbara Schuman. She has tremendous experience working with a lot of people from all different ages, but more importantly, she is a perfect example of someone who has aged gracefully. And I definitely look up to people who walk the talk and lead by example, actually practice what they preach. So she is definitely somebody who practices what she preaches, and so she's sharing her awesome anti-aging tips with us today in an interview that I did with her back in December. So a couple of things. The audio is a bit choppy at times, so I do apologize for that. I was using a conferencing system and my internet wasn't connecting properly, so unfortunately the audio came out a little bit choppy. But what I did do to make it easier for you to digest all this awesome information was, if you look into the description box below, you'll notice that I added the questions and topics that we talked about, and I added links to those portions in the video so that you can click on it and just watch those sections. And it makes it easier for you to digest this information. So with that being said, I hope you enjoy this video, and if you like it, give me a thumbs up and comment below what health questions you want me to go over, and especially when it comes to women's health. What do you want to know? All right, now let's get started.
thank you for asking me to participate with you. It's always a pleasure, first of all, to be with you, and it's a pleasure to talk about this subject, which is art. So my background is I am a integrative nutrition health coach. I'm a certified personal trainer, and I came to these careers late in life. I was married for 25 years to a physician. I ran his practice. I was his right-hand lady, and then my life changed for the better. And I went back to school at the age of 50 to become a personal trainer. And which was really interesting because I chose it because I found I was happiest when I was working out. Right. I found that exercise made me really happy. And so I thought, if I feel good at the age of 50, I want to help other people. So I ended up getting the most amazing job in the world. I was hired by a world-renowned age management medicine health practice. You might know it as an anti-aging practice. Mm-hmm. People would fly in from all over the world to Boca Raton, to a 5-star resort where these 4 doctors ran this practice where people came in because they wanted to know how to prevent disease, how to slow down the aging process, how to reverse aging, how to lose weight. And I was hired as the nutrition and exercise counselor. So I did all the exercise testing. I did all the counseling where I would review their lab work with them and tell them what to eat, how to exercise, what specifically to do to achieve their goals. So for 10 years, I counseled hundreds of, and I had the opportunity to go from being completely inexperienced and not know what the heck I was doing to being an expert. So, when for 10 years, you see what works and what doesn't work. So when I left that practice 3 years ago, I opened up my own private practice, which I call Renovate Yourself. And the subtext to that is your body is your home. People spend so much money renovating their houses. When your house gets to be decrepit, you hire people to come and renovate. Well, when our body gets old, we can't leave our body. We have to stay here. So I primarily work with people 40 and up. And that's what I'm doing right now, is I help people to renovate themselves. So I'm happy to discuss anything you want about how to slow down the aging process, how to be the best version of yourself. And I work with men and women alike. So I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
Awesome. That's amazing. And I love that analogy of renovating yourself, because I agree with you. When we see our home deteriorating, our first inkling is to go and fix everything, right? But when it comes to our health, unfortunately, we're not equipped with the right tools, right? So we're not always aware of how do we slow down the aging process? How do we prevent disease? How do we slow down or manage even disease that we already have, and work for preventative strategies? So that's amazing. Thank you so much again for joining us. And so I just want to start off by asking you, since we're on the topic of aging, and you mentioned that your background is in aging, especially helping women in their 40s. My first question would be, what is the major major issues that you're seeing in women in their 40s? What are the major issues that you find that they have trouble with? Is it losing weight? Is it menopause? What are the main issues that you are dealing with, and how do you tackle that?
So I would say just living in North America today, whether it's the air that we're breathing, the water we're drinking, or the exposure we have to processed foods and all the technology that bombards us, I see a combination of, number one, stress,
Yeah.
and weight issues, time management issues. For women, I think that one of the biggest issues is never feeling like we're good enough, like we always have more we need to be doing. We can't just ever take time out to relax. Can never sit down, put your feet up and read a book, because you've got kids, you've got a husband, you've got a job, you've got laundry, and everybody expects everything from you. And not taking care of yourself. And how I see that culminating in people and women, particularly as they age, is this disappointment with themselves and their bodies, disappointment with themselves, and being a good enough mother or a good enough wife or a good enough lover or good enough at work, because they're so busy giving in every direction. And I have found that when I ask people to just take the time to take care of themselves and to give themselves that gift of self-care, that ultimately they're better for everybody. And if you're an irritable, moody person who's having a lot of menstrual cramps, or you're not going to be able to focus on your work. So if you can just know that if you don't take care of yourself first, everything else is going to start to fall to pieces. And I help people to focus on that and give them permission. Every woman thinks they need to be a martyr.
True. Mm-hmm.
And they won't take time to go to the gym because they got to have dinner on the table, and they have to get the laundry done and the homework done, and it's this martyrdom.
You're absolutely right, because we see our mothers do it, and so we think that automatically we have to do it too. So I mean, speaking from like my age group, like I know that I always feel that pressure too, that same kind of stress that, oh, I have to fill this role. I have to take care of everybody around me. And how do I do that, right? How do I fit it all in and still take care of myself? I'm lucky enough that I make my health a priority, but I know a lot of people don't. And that ends up being the first thing that they sacrifice.
And, people will look at you and say, well, it's easy for you. You don't have children.
Right.
And the minute you have children, all hell breaks loose because everybody is more important than you. And so, your life will get more complicated then.
Yeah.
And, I remember when my daughter was in high school, I started my own business that had to do with promoting health supplements. And my daughter looked at me as I was running out the door and said, you're going to have to fix dinner for yourself, because she was in high school and she should be able to do that. She looked at me and I said, are you upset with me? She says, no, Mom, I'm so glad you have a life.
That's amazing.
And she, we role model. We want our children to grow up respecting us, not just as their caretakers, but as complete beings. And so she told me that when I decided to open up my own little business, she took that as a message to her.
What are some top secrets then that you have that really would slow down that aging process that you would say that are like an absolute must? You got to start now, start while you're young, even if you're in your 40s and 50s.
I mean, if you're 25, you should be thinking about this. I think there's two things. I think one thing is you never want to become a sedentary person. You never want to stop moving. So many people have important jobs that put them in front of a computer all day long. They're doing important work, whether they're lawyers or analysts, whatever they're doing that's taking their time, but it puts them sitting in a chair too many hours. We need to be moving. We need to be exercising. If we are not taking our body into action, we'll lose muscle, we'll lose tone, we'll lose bone mass, and we're going to gain weight, and that's going to start a downward process of a spiral. And everybody who's ever gained weight knows you start to gain weight, and then you start to gain it faster and faster and faster. So that's one thing. Daily exercise, and it doesn't have to be a lot, but even 30 minutes a day of movement, of something that gets your heart rate up and gets you sweating, is really good. So that's number one. I'd say the second most important thing is controlling your blood sugar. I never was aware of this until probably 10, 15 years ago, the importance of controlling blood sugar. When I started to work for this medical practice, I learned about a term called glycation. You've heard that term? Glycation comes from the root word glucose. Glucose meaning sugar. Glycation is the depositing of sugar on the outside of your protein molecules. So if you eat foods that are high in processed carbohydrates, let's say you eat a lot of bread or rice or potatoes, or you drink a lot of beer. Oh my God, I love beer. But let's say you consume a lot of or eat crackers or chips or cereals, whatever it is that gives you this large amount of processed carbohydrates. What's going to happen is your body starts to have trouble taking that, as you chew it, as you consume it, taking that glucose and processing it so that it goes into your cells to give you energy. When you take in too much of it, you binge eat or you chronically eat high glycemic foods, what will happen is over time, the sugar, instead of your cell, can't get in because your cells can only take in so much sugar at a time. It starts to go on the outside of the cell. And imagine a cell like an apple, and then imagine a candy apple with that red candy coating or that caramel coating. That's what glycation is, the depositing of sugar on the outside of your cells. And why is this so terrible? Imagine the cells in your arteries are suddenly being coated with sugar. You hear about buildup of plaque inside the arteries. Well, this leads to heart disease. Sugar buildup on the outside of your cells leads to heart disease. Imagine the cells in your brain. Those cells, when they're coated with sugar, the neurotransmitters can't connect, and so you're going to have trouble with your memory. Imagine the cells on all your organs. Every single organ is made up of cells. Suddenly your whole body is being coated with sugar. What's going to happen over time is inflammation. Glycation, the coating of your cells with sugar, creates inflammation. So my number one best nutrition tip is to control the amount of high glycemic carbohydrates you take in and to balance your meals. And when I say this, balancing your meals, every meal needs to keep that process or that high glycemic carbohydrate under control. And there's ways to do it. One way is to make sure that every meal has a good solid protein in it.
Yeah.
Protein controls blood sugar. So that's one thing. Another thing is every meal should have a healthy fat in it. And women hate to hear the word fat. They think it's bad, but you need healthy fats. And when I say healthy fats, I mean avocado, nuts, things like that. Fats from fish. Protein, healthy fat, and fiber. Fiber is super important. And when I say fiber, I don't know what people think. They maybe think of the Fiber One bar, which is this processed like candy bar that has some fiber in it. But I mean fiber from fresh fruits and vegetables. I mean fiber from natural sources. This slows down the processing of sugar also. So if I have any tip, it's to eat balanced meals, and to, in between meals, don't eat snacks. To go 4 to 6 hours in between meals so that your body can get all the glucose, all the insulin out of your body so that you can stop the glycation process. And my secret tip, the thing that I'll share with you, is that 25 years ago, a friend of mine introduced me to a supplement. That's a fiber supplement. And I recommend this to every single one of my clients. It's called Unicity Balance. It is a soluble and insoluble fiber that I drink before 2 meals a day because it's going to control that sugar going into my body. It is my true anti-aging secret. And that's, so movement and controlling blood sugar, those are my 2 anti-aging tips.
That's amazing. You mentioned something really important, and I emphasize this a lot, but sometimes people look at me and say, well, I've been learning over the years that I should be eating small meals every 2 hours or so, right? So why do you suggest no snacking, and what would you say to someone who says, I like to eat small meals every couple hours and that works for me? What would you say?
I would say if it works for you and you're your ideal weight, all your labs are normal, everything is fine, then, why change something if it's absolutely working for you? But as you age, pay attention to how it might stop working for you. Mm-hmm. When I was first trained as a personal trainer, I was taught to teach my clients 5 meals a day, 5 small meals a day. And what's interesting is that I was teaching that to my clients, and my clients were putting on muscle, but they weren't losing weight, and they were not happy with me. And I was not happy with the results I was seeing. I learned about the concept of intermittent fasting. And I think this is the rage today. If people don't know about it or are afraid of it, they need to just try it for a few weeks and they'll see the results. So what is it? The concept of every time you eat and you put food in your mouth and you start to chew that food, that glucose goes rushing into your bloodstream, trying to get into your cells. Your cells have a key to open up the cell called insulin. It's a hormone, and it unlocks the cell and it lets the glucose in so that you can use that glucose for energy. Now, it takes a long time for insulin to get out of the body. So if you are eating every 2 to 3 hours, you're always having insulin in your body. One of the things people don't know about insulin is that insulin puts a lock on your fat cells. When insulin is present in your body, you cannot use the stored fat that is around your middle or on your hips or on your arms or wherever that fat is being stored. You can't use it for energy. I don't care if you go to the gym and you're running your butt off on the treadmill. If you have circulating insulin still in your body, maybe at the end of an hour of exercise, it has finally left your body, but then, you go and eat again. So your body then uses that food for energy. So how do you get into your fat stores? You have to allow your body 4 to 6 hours in between meals and a minimum of 12 hours between dinner and breakfast. Some people suggest 16 hours. I can never wait that long. I teach this concept of the old Nintendo game of Pac-Man. How Pac-Man would go through the labyrinth looking for that pellet to eat, and when you are in between your meals and you start to feel hungry, and you say, I don't know if it's a good idea that I'm not eating for 4 to 5 hours. That hunger is Pac-Man going through your bloodstream looking for food, and if there's no food in your bloodstream anymore, no circulating glucose, it's going to go into your fat stores and eat your fat. So I tell people when they feel hungry, don't whine about it, celebrate, say, Pac-Man's going into my fat stores, gonna eat my fat. And that's how you lose body fat.
Wow, I'm totally using that Pac-Man analogy.
Okay.
That's amazing. I love that. So that's great that you mentioned intermittent fasting. And yeah, there are different ways to do intermittent fasting. And, you know, I'm pretty much the same way as you. I can't wait 16 hours because I find that I'm not able to meet my daily recommendation then for my intake, right? My calorie intake, what I should be getting in a day, how much protein I should be getting, how much carbohydrates, how much fats. I always find that if I wait too long, then I feel like I'm either eating way too much at that one period of time, and I'm raising those insulin levels up, even if I'm eating healthy, you know, and because it's a lot of food I'm consuming, right? So I don't feel like I'm able I would say completely meet my daily recommended intake. So I always find that when women tend to lose or want to lose weight, they reduce their calorie intake drastically, right? And I find that they quite often don't even meet enough calories for the day. How important is meeting your daily calorie intake? How important is that?
Well, I'll be honest with you. I never pay attention to my calories.
Okay.
I've never been a good calorie counter, but it's really important to not starve yourself because there is something called the thermic effect of food. Okay. And a lot of people don't know that term. And I want to explain, it was a revelation to me when I heard about it. When you eat food, particularly, it increases your metabolism. It causes thermic effect, meaning burning effect in your body. If you're one of these women that's going on the one of these starvation diets, what's going to happen is you're going to stop your metabolism because you're not eating food. Your metabolism is going to slow down, so cool off, slow down. You want to light the fires of your metabolism, and eating, especially first thing in the morning, eating protein is really important because it starts your metabolism and you can start burning that fat really quickly and keeping your whole system working in tip-top shape. So I think that if women starve themselves, and I've seen this in people that do the HCG diet, they only eat like 500 calories. The minute they stop that diet, they gain so much weight because they've slowed down their metabolism so much. Right. And it's really important to eat regularly and balance meals.
Right. And you mentioned protein is a thermogenic food.
Yes. And, you know, I stress the importance of protein. You know, people say, how much protein should I have? So, first of all, everybody eats differently, but, you know, there are many different sources of protein. If you're going by grams or percentage, there are standard recommendations where they say that a woman should have 0.7 grams per pound of body weight. Well, that would be for me, I weigh 130 pounds, let's say. That would mean for me that I would need like 90 grams of protein in a day. That's not going to help me if I'm trying to build muscle. And why am I trying to build muscle? Not because I want to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger, but because I want to keep my metabolism up. When you lift weights, when you do body weight exercise or do any kind of resistance training, you're doing it so that you can build strong bones, you can build strong muscles, and you can stay toned and not look flabby. And that keeps your metabolism up. But if you don't get enough protein, you can't repair the muscle that you're working. So I go by this standard of about 1 gram of protein per body weight for a woman who is trying to keep fit, toned, build muscle, and lose weight. So I would say anywhere from 120 to 130 grams of protein I should be eating a day. So, that is what I think is important, because that keeps your metabolism going. It also keeps you full. Mm-hmm. Protein is satisfying, so you don't need to eat in between meals. I mean, if I walk away from a meal and I'm still hungry because I'm watching my calories, it's going to be disaster, because 2 hours later, I'm going to be starving. Yeah. And, and then, when you're starving, what's very interesting is your brain requires a lot of energy. And if you haven't eaten enough, your brain is going to suffer. You're going to be foggy. You're not going to think clearly. You're going to not make good decisions. You're going to be having cravings, and you're going to grab that handful of pretzels on somebody's desk or the handful of candy. You're going to make bad decisions. So it's better when you're sitting down to eat a complete meal and not be afraid to eat.
Wow, that's amazing. And I've even heard that, as you age, your protein needs increase as well, right?
I think that as you age, if you are exercising, you had damn well better be increasing that amount of protein, because you need to build that muscle. It's so important, because as women, as we age, we're going to lose muscle and we're going to lose bone density. I mean, how many women who have mothers who have broken a hip or broken an ankle? I mean, I'm working with a woman who's a client who's 70 years old, who finally called me after she broke her ankle and she broke her wrist. She fell and it's, she hasn't been eating right. She's overweight. She'll starve herself, and then, she's just, her whole body's out of balance. When you have an injury like that, it's so easy to put on more weight because now you're sedentary. So it's very important. Protein helps our bodies to heal also. So.
Yeah, that's amazing. So you mentioned that you get about 120 to 130 grams?
Yeah.
How do you get it in? Because that's a lot of protein.
It is. I mean, one of the things that I'm careful about is I'm careful about not eating protein that's going to put a lot of weight on me. Okay. So I start with my day with Unicity Complete, okay. Which is a meal replacement. And I just happen to have it right here. Do I look like Vanna White? So I like this protein for a couple reasons. First of all, 2 scoops of it gives me 20 grams. I often do 3 scoops. So that would be 30 grams right there out of the starting gate. And I'm going to add things to it in a shake. And like this morning, I added sunflower sprouts and kale and avocado.
I'm going to try that.
I love sunflower sprouts. Sunflower sprouts are a fabulous source of protein and fat. I think a quarter of a cup gives you like 6 grams of protein.
Really? Wow.
It's a great plant-based protein. And even though I'm not vegan, I love to get protein from other sources, not just meat. Mm-hmm. While I was making my shake, I was putting eggs on to hard boil. For my lunch, I'm going to eat a great big salad, and I'm going to put hard-boiled eggs in my salad. And actually, I'm not going to. My boyfriend, Russ, is going to make that salad for me. Right now, I hear him chopping in the kitchen. Love him. But I also might put, we might split a can of sardines or mackerel, put on top of that salad. That's getting another low, a lean protein, but high in healthy fats. And like last night for dinner, I ate a piece of salmon, organic salmon, that from Norway. I mean, I pay more for it, but I don't buy the farm salmon from Costco, even though it's cheaper. I just don't do it because I spend the money where I think it's going to be worth it. And, you know, I actually looked up today how many grams of protein was in the piece of salmon I had. So I bought a pound of salmon, right, which is 16 ounces. So we split it. So I had 8 ounces of salmon. So I looked up today, 3 ounces of salmon, which they think is like a portion size, not for me, is 21 grams of protein. So I got 8 ounces into my body last night, which is 56 grams of protein.
Perfect.
That's amazing. I mean, I had vegetables with it, and it was a fabulous meal, and it was satisfying. So one of the things that I want to say is that after you exercise, it's really important to eat protein. Within 20 to 30 minutes, if you can get protein into your body quickly, because that will repair the muscle that you've just been tearing down. The process of tearing down and repairing, that's what makes, I don't know if you can see this.
Wow.
That's what makes definition. Because the definition comes from the repairing, the healing of those muscle fibers. So there is a protein drink that I like, which is called Quadplex, which is from, the source of it is 2 different sources of whey protein. Mm-hmm. And all the research shows that whey protein builds muscle better than any other form of protein. I mean, eggs are good, chicken, fish, the meat, it's all good. But as far as the most efficient and least amount of calories, having whey protein, because protein has in it something called whey protein, if it's prepared correctly, if it's processed correctly, has branched chain amino acids in it. And the process of taking these amino acids into your body helps to repair the protein. And I have to tell you, a little bit obsessed with, finding the best of everything. Mm-hmm. And I called the company that produces these products, Unicity, and spoke to the top research scientists there saying, why is this better than anything else? I was really, a little snot-nosed saying, I want you to tell me why I should take this. And he explained to me that leucine is one of the 3 branched chain amino acids that really helps with building muscle. And all the scientific research at the National Institute of Health has shown that in aging people, you give them leucine, this building block, this amino acid, after working their muscles, you're going to repair and build muscle, and people will not lose muscle as they age. Holding on to muscle is the most important thing you can do as you age. You don't become frail, your bones don't become weak, because the muscle creates gravitational force on your bone, which creates a stronger bone. And just to be able to stand upright and to walk, people who have strong legs have less occurrence of dementia. They show a direct correlation between strength of your body and strength of your brain. So I am religious about taking protein after I lift weights, but also eating enough protein throughout the day.
And so of course, supplementing with protein is so important, right? Because we can't simply get that much protein in a day with just our food, right? Without sacrificing calories.
Right. I mean, people think, oh, I should eat a big 16-ounce steak. Well, that big steak, from time to time to eat a small amount of steak is good, because certain people need meat. They need the iron. I don't particularly digest it well. I don't eat much meat, but it also carries with it often a lot of fat. And, if it's a grass-fed beef, maybe it's going to have less inflammatory fats than beef raised on corn. You know, a cow eats corn. Corn is inflammatory. You eat the cow, and you have inflammation in your tissue.
100%.
So when I buy meat, I only buy grass-fed meat.
Yeah. And that's absolutely important because, again, you said the inflammatory effects of fat. And so I know you mentioned that you buy only wild fish. And is that because of the omega-3 content in it? Is that what you're referring to?
Most of the time, yes. It's because of the higher value of the omega-3s. There's just more value in the fish. Yeah.
Yeah. And my husband went out to a farm to pick up some meat because he goes and it's like the grass fed, the good meat, right?
Uh-huh.
And he was asking one of the farmers, because they produce farm fish there as well. And he was saying, well, what do you guys feed the fish? You feed them corn, right? And they're like, yeah, we feed them corn, but we also feed them chicken feces because they're bottom feeders and they will eat it, so, and they have so much of it. So it's really kind of gross. So I'm glad that you're talking about eating wild fish because I don't think I'm a vegetarian, so I don't eat fish, but for everyone I know that eats fish now, I'm like, do you know what they eat?
I mean, so many people will buy tilapia because it's a very cheap fish, and it's cheap because it's farm raised and it's being fed on feces, chicken feces. I mean, that's really, what you're eating. It's like, I don't know, do you eat eggs?
I'll have it in some baked goods, but I normally don't eat eggs.
Uh-huh. Because I buy the most expensive eggs. I buy the eggs that are from the chickens that are pasture raised, because, there is something to the concept of, if an animal is stressed, if an animal has inflammatory tissue, then you eat that animal, you're going to have that same bad karma, that inflammatory response in your body. So I do my best. It's so hard in today's world to eat really clean if you don't live on a farm and raise your own animals. But, I spend more money on food and supplements than I do on anything else because it's me, it's my health.
Right.
And if, again, going back to the first thing I opened with, if I don't take care of myself, who's going to?
Exactly. Yeah. And then if you don't take care of yourself, you can't possibly take care of anyone else around you.
Exactly right.
Yeah. So, how important are omega-3s then? Are we getting enough in our food? Do you think people should be all supplementing with omega-3s?
I tell anybody over the age of 30 that they should be supplementing with omega-3s for many reasons. I mean, I also think children can benefit from omega-3s. They are forming their brain. We need that omega-3 for a healthy brain.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a fabulous story about omega-3s that I read somewhere like 20 years ago about the importance of omega-3s and depression and good mood. My son is a psychiatrist. And so I said to him one day, it would be really good for you to recommend omega-3 to your patients. And he looked at me and said, Mom, you and your supplements. And this was probably 12 years ago. And he just said, he gave me one of these. And a couple of years later, I get a call from him in the middle of the day, and I'm wondering why he's calling me in the middle of the day. And he says, I'm at a conference and I'm calling to apologize to you. I said, why are you apologizing? He says, there's a whole research study about how omega-3s helps with mood and brain health. And you knew before everybody else. Why I didn't trust you, I don't know, but I'm calling to apologize. I said, thank you.
That's awesome.
But, as we age, we need a lot of omega-3s for many reasons. One is it's going to control inflammation in our body. So as we age, everything starts to hurt. Your joints start to hurt. Your muscles hurt. I mean, just things hurt. And that inflammation is lessened when you have omega-3s in your system. But if we're talking to women, when I was about 38, turning in my early 40s, I started to experience the early onset of perimenopause. I started to have really painful menstrual periods.
Mhm.
And I learned that omega-3s can also tamp down the inflammatory process of menstrual pains. So if you are a woman who's experiencing that, taking omega-3s every day is going to be important. It's also going to control your cholesterol. It's just going to make you be in a better mood. It's going to make your skin more supple. It's the best. Our body needs these fats. Our body craves these fats. And this is a sad story I'm going to tell you. A cousin of my boyfriend, her husband had a heart attack many years ago. And they went out to the Pritikin Center in California. You've heard of Dr. Pritikin?
Mm-hmm.
He originally taught take all fat out of the body. He taught a completely vegan diet, no fats. And when I met her, she was like in her late 60s. And Russ said to me, look at her, she's so thin. Yeah, she was thin. She and her husband lost a lot of weight because he had been obese and he needed to lose weight to lower his risk of another heart attack. But I said, no fat? That's terrible for your brain. Your brain needs fat. And she said, this is what the doctor said. 2 years later, she started to lose her memory. She's been diagnosed with dementia. And the first thing they did is put her on omega-3s and said, you've deprived your brain of the necessary fat that it needs. It's like she was creating this. So women who are afraid of fat take healthy fat every day. Whether it's, I put in my shake, every morning when I make my complete shake, I always add a healthy fat. Whether it's a quarter of an avocado, a tablespoon of ground flaxseed, a tablespoon of unsweetened coconut, something that's going to have a healthy fat in it, because it's important to have that at every meal. A little bit of olive oil on your salad, very important.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's.
I'm going to tell you the omega-3 that I love is the newest one that's been produced by Unicity. It's called Resolve omega-3. I love it because it's not only the right amount of omega-3s. The capsules are tiny, all these big horrible things to swallow, but also it triggers your body's ability to take in more of the fat. It's something about the way it's been developed that is able to help you get more out of the omega than just a regular omega-3. The way it's been manufactured, I don't know all the science behind it, but it's really great. I saw the results of this in many different joints, whether it was my shoulder, I pointed to my shoulder, whether it was my knees, but really, embarrassingly enough, I have to tell you, in my bunion. I'm a grandma, I've got bunions. Well, if you take enough omega-3s in many different ways, you won't hurt as much.
That's amazing. Wow.
That's my grandma recommendation.
So you mentioned perimenopausal symptoms, right? When do women typically experience those?
So, a lot depends on the individual. I mean, a lot of women will begin to experience it at around the same age that their mothers did. For me, I started to experience these early symptoms around 40, 41. And what were those symptoms? The first thing what is menopause?
Right.
Menopause is when your body stops going through its menstrual cycle, when your ovaries no longer produce estrogen and progesterone, and so you lose your fertility and your periods stop for an entire year. That's what menopause is. It's what happens before. There could be a whole 10 years of perimenopause. I mean, I really started menopause the beginning of my early 40s, about 41. And what did I experience? I experienced very bad menstrual cramps that I hadn't had before. I experienced lumpy, bumpy breasts, really tenderness, especially around my period. Lack of sex drive, more emotional issues, brain fog, weight gain around my waist. Those are kind of the symptoms that I saw in me. And I'll tell you a really interesting story in that I went to my doctor and he wanted to give me some kind of a hormone pill. And I took it for like a couple days and I felt like nauseous when I was like pregnant. And I threw it out. I said, I'm not going to take this. And very soon after that, a friend of mine introduced me to this same fiber product that I was talking about. It was called something different in those days, but it's now called Unicity Balance or Bio 7. It comes in two versions now. And it was for lowering cholesterol. I didn't have a cholesterol issue, but because my husband was a doctor, she thought that we could sell it in our practice.
Right.
So I started to take it, and all those perimenopausal symptoms went away.
All of them.
All of those pains, the tenderness in my breasts, the menstrual cramps went away, and to lose the fat that was being stored right around my waist, that little spare tire. And I continued to take it, thinking, this is really great. And I asked my doctor, who had given me those pills, why it was working. And he blew me off. He said, it's a placebo effect. You just think it's working. It's like, time for a new doctor. But I met another physician, an OBGYN doctor who specialized in cancer for women. And I met him because he was using this in his practice. And I said to him, tell me why I feel better taking this. He said, it makes so much sense. When you drink a fiber drink 10 to 15 minutes before your meals, it acts like a sponge. The fiber soaks up all the excess hormones that are out of balance and carries them out of your body. And when you're going through perimenopause and menopause, your hormones are so out of whack. You've got too much of one thing, not enough of another thing. And he says, it's not only is it removing hormones from your body, soaking them up in a sponge-like fashion, but it's also removing toxins. We have so many toxins from our foods, like chemical toxins, getting them out of your body. So your body's a lot cleaner. And he said to me that you will probably want to take this the rest of your life. So I tempted nature by going off it for 2 months. When I traveled, I went to China to visit my daughter who was living in China, and I decided I wouldn't bring any of my supplements with me. It's just too much to pack. And believe it or not, after 2 months of not taking this, every single symptom came back.
Wow.
So that was when I was 41 when I started taking this. I'm 66 now. For the last however many years that is, my math is bad. What is that? 25 years or so?
Wow.
I have been taking this before lunch and before dinner. And it controls blood sugar. It gets rid of toxins. It makes you poop great. Getting the crap out of your body is really important. You feel lighter, but you also don't store fat as much, because what it does is not only does the fiber and it holds your appetite between meals, but it also controls those blood sugar spikes. So you're not producing as much insulin. So you get your insulin out of your body. So you go into that fat burning zone in between meals. So, well, what's interesting is so many of my friends were going through menopause and gaining weight and fat and having hot flashes. And I was just sailing through it because of this product.
That's amazing. And they didn't get on it too?
Some people who were willing to listen to me.
Yeah.
No, not everybody is ready when you tell them something. Some people just, there are a lot of people who say, well, if my doctor doesn't know about it, then it's not good. Well, your doctor should know about it. This product is listed in the physician's desk reference. In fact, I work with many cardiologists who now recommend this to their patients because all the science and research has been done to show that it does control cholesterol, control triglycerides, control blood sugar, help control the storage of fat. And I'd say that most physicians do not want to keep increasing medication to their patients because it puts their patients at risk for side effects. A little, okay? A lot of a statin drug is bad. They show it has side effects. It affects your memory. It affects your blood sugar. So, you know, if you can share with your physician this product, its listing in the PDR, they'll be more open-minded.
Yeah. Wow. That's amazing that you're working with so many physicians and medical practitioners that are recommending this to people, because I do believe I take it myself every day, and I have been taking it for the last, 6 years now almost. I notice a difference in my body. I don't have any cholesterol issues, but I don't want them. You know, I don't have any blood sugar issues. I don't want them though. Right. And unfortunately we live in a world where it's not perfect. Our food is not perfect. We can't always eat a perfect diet. So this really helps. And the fact that you've been taking it for over 25 years, that really just says something about the effectiveness of it, the fact that it's safe to use even, right? And what would you say to someone who would say, I don't want to be reliant on something like this?
So I'll tell you exactly what I said to my boyfriend when I met him. One of my attractions to him is that he took good care of himself. He ate really well. He eats really well. He would eat a lot of fruits and vegetables and a lot of healthy fats. I mean, he exercised. I mean, he was just, you know, I wouldn't be attracted to him otherwise. But he saw me taking this. He said, I don't believe in that because I eat well. I don't need that. I said, okay, all right. So he started to complain about this little roll of fat around his middle. And his cholesterol was creeping up just a little bit each blood test as he was getting older and older. I said, you know, you could try this and see how you feel with it. And then you could decide whether or not you want to take it. But make an intelligent decision by trying it and see how you feel. So he started to take it, and that little roll of fat around his waist started to go away. And his cholesterol numbers came back into perfect balance. And I said to him, so do you want to keep taking it? He said, yeah, my poops are great.
That's amazing.
So, okay, this is between us girls. This is what he says. He says, you don't need toilet paper when you take this because you have such clean poops.
Wow.
He'll kill me if he knew I said that to you. But
everyone's going to know now. Everyone's going to know.
But you know, how our body functions, I mean, as you get older, you pay more attention to these functions. How you poop, how you sleep, all these things that are really important. And if you pay attention to them and you notice subtle changes, you're going to do the things that make you feel good, and you're going to not do the things that make you feel bad.
True.
5 minutes maybe. Lunch is ready. And I just talked about you.
So you just mentioned something that's really important. So now I completely forgot because we were talking about poop.
My favorite subject.
Well, talking about poop, so are we getting enough fiber in our diet? Because I think, like, I, for one, try to aim to get about 35 grams of fiber a day at a minimum. I'm getting way more than that, which is good. I'm great. I'm happy. So why is that so important for anybody, even women, men, everyone?
Everybody needs fiber in your diet. And the number one reason you need fiber is the concept of poop. If you're putting food in and it's not going out, then it's becoming rancid in your body and sets you up for a lot of opportunity for cancer. Fiber is the number one best preventative to avoid colon cancer, but it's also preventative for prostate cancer and breast cancer. They have found that fiber, it soaks up these toxins and gets them out of your body. faster your transit time is from the entry of food to your mouth to the exit to the toilet, the better you are for preventing disease. But there's many other reasons why you want to have fiber. First of all, fiber is going to keep you more full, so you're going to be more satiated, so you can go longer between meals. You're not going to store fat as much. Fiber is for women with hormonal issues like menstrual cramps, perimenopause, or even just regular menstrual cramps. I mean, you're 25 years old, you have bad menstrual cramps, you start adding more fiber to your diet, it is going to stop the inflammation in your body. Fiber really tamps down inflammation in your body. 35 to 50 grams of fiber a day is important. I use many different types of supplements. I use this twice a day, but I also use a supplement called Life Fiber that I put into my shake every morning, which is a fiber that really acts like a broom. It flushes out toxins from your body. I eat a lot of fresh fruits and vegetables, and that has fiber in it. It's women who are trying to get pregnant and having difficulty, increase the fiber in your body. That's going to really help because it creates a more friendly environment in your gut for the production of the right types of hormones, the balance of hormones. So a lot of women cannot, and more people are having difficulty getting pregnant today. I just read Michelle Obama's book, and she talked about how hard it was for her to get pregnant, how they had to do in vitro. Mm-hmm. And you know, it's our diet. We're eating too many processed foods, and it's all the chemicals. And eating more fiber gets rid of a lot of the storage of chemicals in our bodies also. So I just think that that's it's going to also reduce. Fiber will control blood sugar. It's also going to control the stress hormone cortisol. So, and cortisol, the more stressed you are, the more fiber you should be eating, because what's going to happen is it's going to tamp down that cortisol increase, which causes inflammation in your body and causes you to store fat. So it's all connected.
Wow, that is all connected. Would any fiber just do, or would you say that,
I think you need a combination of soluble and insoluble fibers. I strongly recommend the Life Fiber product that Unicity makes, and I've given that Life Fiber to people of all ages, and it works beautifully. Who's 92 years old, and 5 years ago, she was complaining to me about her irritable bowel syndromes that she had her entire life that I never knew about. She would always have too much. She would go too often. She would have diarrhea. And I didn't know that. She finally confided in me like 5 years ago. And I gave her Life Fiber, which you think of fiber for constipation, but what it does is it actually regulates the bowels, and it solved her irritable bowel syndrome. Mm. So she takes Life Fiber every morning. So I've given it to teenagers who don't get enough fiber in their fast food diet, and it changes their skin. You know, the breakouts, when you don't poop regularly, your body stores all the toxins, and it's got to come out some way, and it comes out in acne. So you increase the fiber in your diet, your skin's going to glow. So that's really important.
Mm-hmm. So how would you compare something like Balance to like a Metamucil, or, there's lots of fiber supplements out there. Why would you say Balance?
They're totally different. It's not that this is better. This is a completely different product. Mm-hmm. Balance has soluble and insoluble fibers that come from plant-based sources that have been shown to lower cholesterol, balance blood sugar, lower triglycerides, help with fat storage, and it makes you poop. It will lower cholesterol by like 20%, whereas Metamucil will lower your cholesterol 1%, and it'll make you poop. Yeah. So, I don't know what the exact numbers are, but it's something extremely different like that. So yes, you will pay more for Balance, but it's doing more. It's keeping you off of drugs, and it's making your whole body go into balance, which is why it's called balance. It is something that, I mean, I would say that if people can't afford to buy multiple things, the most important thing they should take is balance.
So out of everything, that would be the most important.
I think balance is the most important. Balance, and then to get a good protein supplement like Complete. You're too young to worry about all these inflammatory factors, but you know, when you start to feel them, it's like you suddenly start to feel old. Your joints hurt. And it's like when you feel old, you stop doing the things that keep you young. So you've got to pay attention to stopping the inflammation in your body with a healthy diet and with the supplements that are going to help you as you age so that you can stay young by continuing to exercise.
I'm completely blown away with all this information. Thank you so much for sharing this with us. And I really hope that women have found some benefit with your information. I found so much benefit with your information, even though I am taking the same stuff you're taking, but I still feel pretty blown away with all this new information. I know a lot about some of the stuff that you mentioned, but coming from you and someone of your caliber and your background, your experience, it just makes it that much more powerful. So thank you so much for your time.
It's always a joy to help you. And if anybody wants to talk to me personally, if I can give advice, they can find me through my website at barbaraschuman.com or Renovate Yourself.
Awesome. And are you on Instagram as well?
That's how you know I'm old. I have an Instagram account. I haven't used it. I've got to get started. And maybe you'll help me with that.
Yeah, I will definitely help you with that. I'm totally got to get.
I may not look old, but you can tell by my Instagram account that I'm old. Thank you. Give my best to Rob.
Will do. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
And there you have it. I hope you guys enjoyed that video. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and comment below. Let me know what your thoughts are and what you learned from this awesome interview. Again, the links to all the topics are in the description box below, so you can always go back and rewatch something that you may have missed. If you want some more information on the products that Barbara mentioned, the links are in the description box below as well. And I just have to say, Barbara shared some really amazing information with us, and I'm so blown away. And definitely, I work on applying these principles to my life every single day, and I noticed that such a huge difference, especially in the 6 years that I have been doing this, and especially when it comes to like my skin, my energy, my weight. You know, I lost 22 pounds, and you know, it's just been such an amazing journey for me just to learn from somebody of that caliber and follow her example, so I can look like her when, you know, I'm 66. Definitely want to look like her. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. I'll be posting videos every week. So if you wanted more information on women's health, on nutrition, lifestyle, recipes, stuff like that, click that subscribe button below and follow me on Instagram. I post every single day on Instagram, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.